Good morning, Eddie. I just want to begin with a few players who've been carrying injuries. Firstly, Anthony Gordon, how is he?
Anthony should be fine. Yeah, he's trained this week, no problems.
Was it a thigh problem for Gordon?
Yeah, it was a thigh problem, but he responded well to treatment over the weekend and has trained well.
And Sven Botman was substituted in the second half against Arsenal, wasn't with you at Birmingham. What's the situation with him?
Good news on the scan that he had after the injury. We don't think there's any long-term issue there. Short-term, there's still a bit of pain for him, so we think he will miss this weekend, but hopefully won't be far away for the following games.
And what can you tell us about Dan Burn, who had to go off last weekend?
The initial look on Dan wasn't positive, but he again had a scan. The scan was good. He's improved a lot very quickly this week, so he'll be very close this weekend.
If he doesn't make it, Emil Kraft is a player who we know you think a lot of and played last week. How important could somebody like he be over the next few weeks, particularly with Sven Botman not yet ready to return as well?
Yeah, Emil's always been a very reliable, dependable member of the squad. Had his own injury issue recently, but his comeback looks strong. And I think Emil, whenever he's played, has been excellent for us. So, as I say, versatile player, can play at different positions for us, and really valued by everyone internally here.
Just before I ask about Manchester City, can we have some reaction to the FA Cup draw? You will be at home in the fifth round, Brighton. So an all Premier League match, a team that beat you at St James's Park earlier in the season, despite a good performance. What did you think when you were paired with Brighton?
At home, I think that's all we can ask. I think it's a tough game, but I think when you get to sort of these rounds, invariably you're going to get that difficult opponent. But I think at home we really believe in ourselves. We believe in our capabilities. So again, another great cup tie for us to look forward to.
And after two cup matches, back to Premier League football, and the next three games are against teams that in the current standings are above you in the table. How do you view the importance and the difficulty of the next few weeks?
I think it's going to be a great few weeks for us in terms of trying to evaluate our strength, see where we are, how competitive we are in the league. I think we've been pretty solid all season in that respect. We've given every team good games, but this will be at a pivotal stage of the season, a really defining few weeks for us. Of course, we have the cup final then on the horizon beyond these games, but I think pivotal part of the Premier League season for us.
And finally, did you watch Manchester City against Real Madrid the other night, and what did you think?
Yeah, of course I did. I thought it was a great game of football. I think you could see the quality of two teams. I thought Manchester City in that first half looked back to being very close to being their very best. I thought controlled the game for large periods. But of course the quality of Real Madrid is very strong as well. But that's what makes the Champions League the competition that it is. But as always, a great advert for football, and certainly, we know this is going to be a very difficult game.
Thanks, Rosa. Keith?
Yeah. There we go.
Sorry about that. Woke everyone up there. Eddie, from the outside looking in, what have you made of Manchester City over the last couple of months? I mean, 12 defeats, I think, of their last 24 games, unheard of for them beforehand.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily look at it over that period of time. I think you have to look at it over a much longer period of time. I think they've been sensational and so consistent for so many seasons, which is so difficult to do at this level because the standard of the teams. And I think that's what we've seen really. The standard of the Premier League congesting in its force. Really, every team is very difficult to play against. We found that recently in a couple of home games. If you drop by 1%, you can get beaten. Every game is very difficult. Nothing's given to you. I think it's been great for the Premier League that it's like that because you never know what's going to happen when you go to a stadium now, any stadium. And I think it's producing a really entertaining Premier League this year. But Manchester City is still a very, very good team. I think statistically at home they've still been very strong. So for me, they're still the benchmark, and we have to try and produce our best performance to try and get something from this match.
You say there that they've been strong at home. your team have been strong away from home recently. You've won the last 6 in a row, looking for 7. Has that been one of the most pleasing aspects of your recent run, the way you've gone to big clubs and come away with victories?
Yeah, certainly around Christmas time, as you say, those games against Manchester United, Tottenham were brilliant games for us because we were consistent against really good teams, tough environments, came through that period really well. Yeah, I think the away form is so important. Of course, every phase of your performance is important, but to perform well away from home, I think gives you good characteristics, good solid foundations to build from, good character in the group. But it's going to be what we have coming up with Liverpool in the league, Manchester City in the league, a good test for where we are.
Do you think tomorrow that we will see 2 of Europe's best strikers, if not Europe's 2 outstanding strikers, coming up against each other in the shape of Isak and Haaland?
Yeah, certainly. I think when you look at Haaland's consistency over a long period of time, there's no doubting that, and Alex is certainly doing the same. Since he's come to this club, I think he's been absolutely sensational for us. So we're looking to try and get him in the game as much as we can. And I always say the same thing: we need to provide the foundation for him to perform at his best levels. Of course, there's Alex has to perform as well, but in these types of games, he's maybe not going to get loads of chances. But we need to try and get him in the right areas and try and get him the ball in the key areas.
And just finally from me, in terms of the cup final, I know it's still a month or so away. What is the message to the players? Is it to embrace it and look forward to it, or is it to park it, put it on the back burner and try and concentrate on what's in front of you? Is it a difficult one to judge? Because obviously it felt like maybe there was 1 or 2 issues with that a couple of years ago that maybe got in the way a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a mixture of both. I think definitely short term we have to not forget about it, but we have to put it away and we have to concentrate on the here and now. When you're playing Manchester City, as we are, if you've got your thoughts and your mind drifting to other games, that's going to be a big negative for us. That's not going to allow us to perform in the right way. So it's all energy and focus on this game. And then, of course, the following games, when the cup final comes around, we give it absolutely our full attention, obviously, and we try and prepare as well as we can. But also, you don't want to take away the excitement and the positivity that the occasion will bring. And we want to use that to help our league form, not hinder it. So I think, yes, trying to learn from 2 years ago, but there's a lot to be positive about, and I think we need to keep those emotions, definitely.
Thanks, Keith. Andy?
Well, Eddie, I'll only ask one about the Carabao Cup final. Tickets obviously came out this week. How many texts, how many phone calls have you had asking you for tickets so far?
Not too many, actually, so if you want to jump on. No, it goes with the territory. And I think Wembley needs to be bigger, really, from Newcastle's perspective. I'm probably sure of the same for Liverpool. So that will always be a talking point, and we want to see as many of our supporters there as possible.
Like Lee was saying before, Valentine's Day today, so after a week where 2 different performances, 2 excellent results against Arsenal and Birmingham in the Cup, what do you love most about this team, this squad right now?
I think right now, I think the fact that in the last 2 games everyone's played a part in helping us get 2 great results, and I don't think she underestimated the Birmingham game. We're coming out to fireworks in a dark stadium, we're conceding within a minute, and you're thinking this could be a really difficult afternoon for us. We've changed the team, and now is a big moment for the players on the pitch to respond and try and find a way to get through this cup tie, and I thought they did that brilliantly. That was a tough game. A lot of the players hadn't played loads of minutes, so they showed their steel and drive and motivation to get through, and we've been rewarded with a home tie in the next round. So again, lots to be positive about internally with the squad, I think.
You talk about the players responding there. One in particular, Joe Willock. How is he now after what happened a couple of weeks ago, and how well has he responded, do you think?
I think Joe's fine. I think he responded really well in the respect that I think at the time he was very, very calm and very measured. in his response. I don't think we saw a hugely emotive reaction to it, which I think is the best way to handle these things. I think he showed his maturity. He's been through a lot in his short career. Really talented lad. Really hope to see him on the pitch doing what he did best against Birmingham, which was score and look really good physically. He's had such a difficult time with injury. I really hope this is a turning point for Joe.
Just finally, I'm sure you don't need reminding, probably going to go there anyway, but Newcastle having the greatest record at Etihad Stadium, but the same was said about Newcastle's record at the Emirates, at Old Trafford, maybe even down at Spurs as well. What is it about this year and this Newcastle team that makes them good for ending these kind of hoodoos, I suppose, to use that phrase?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because a lot's made of history and records, and there's positives and negatives to take depending on how you look at things. I think this year we've just tried to play the game, not the record or the history. We've gone in with a really blank canvas in terms of our mental preparation. In respect, we haven't gone back. I don't think it's healthy too. We've tried just purely to look forward on what we can do and what we're capable of being. Really tried to be positive in our approach and let the players be free and play the game, because I do believe we have a very strong team.
Thanks, Eddie. I'll drop you a text later about the tickets.
No worries. Look forward to it.
Nisha?
Morning, Eddie. Man City had their game midweek. They've also been criticised this season perhaps for not having the same intensity, maybe not the legs that we're used to seeing there. Do you have to turn that to your advantage, not having that midweek game, and maximise the intensity to beat them?
I think we'll always do what we try to do to the best of our ability, which is a part of our game, of course. I will always say our running ability, our running power. We'll always try to maximise that. I think Manchester City are used to playing the number of games that they do. Their schedule is intense, but they've managed it historically so well, and that's where I said earlier, the consistency that they've managed over a number of years with the competitions that they're in, the expectations they play under, has been great to witness from afar. So I've got no doubt they'll be ready for the game. They've got a very good squad. They've made some good additions in January as well. I think they've gone youthful and brought some really good energy into the group. So I think just for us, yes, we haven't had a game midweek, but we need to produce in all aspects of our play to be competitive in this game.
You've talked about this potentially season-defining run of games and the focus on these games as opposed to the League Cup final. Does having 3 such huge games with teams fighting for those Champions League places, does that almost make it easier to park the league final for now?
Yeah, I think it leaves us with no choice, because as I said, if you go into these games distracted, you've got no chance. So almost it focused the players' minds, I'm sure, that we need to give everything to Manchester City, then we need to give everything to our next game, and so on. And I think that's how it has to be for us. We're going through a spell where we have tough opposition, but this season, by and large, we've responded well to those games, and we need to do so again.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Damien, Lee Ryder, and then to Gary.
Eddie, we've talked a lot about Alex Isak and his impact in recent months, and rightly so, but how central has Sandro Tonali become to your team and the way you want to play and what you hope to achieve?
Yeah, I think Sandro's become a key figure in our midfield. Highlighted again, I think, last week against Birmingham. The plan was to rotate Bruno and Sandro's minutes to try and keep them fresh for what was ahead. But when he came on the pitch in the second half, he brought stability in our performance that in that moment I think we needed. I think it's well documented how good he is on the ball. He's very calm, composed, positive with his passing. Very good technically, but I just think that the off-the-ball work that he does, the transitional aspect of his play has been of the highest level, and he's really helped our midfield, I think, cope, especially in the games that we spoke about, the away games that we've performed well in due part. I think that's down to his off-the-ball work. His defensive mindset has been of the very highest level, and it's definitely helped the team.
And how have you seen him grow? How have you seen him grow in the time since he's come back into the team? And is tomorrow the perfect stage for him to demonstrate what he's learned during his time in England?
I think I said the same during his ban. He hasn't tended to change at all. His personality, his way about him has been very consistent, very level, very calm. But I think that's how he plays, and I think that's his personality. As I said, has helped the team. So I think the biggest change probably will be in his confidence levels, although it doesn't really show externally from him. I'm sure he'd be feeling good. He's playing well. He knows he's performing and helping the team. So I'm sure all those things he'll be feeling good about himself. I certainly think he's very popular in the dressing room as well. Like you can see his teammates really value him, which is a great feeling to have when you're playing.
Thanks, Damien. Lee?
Eddie, on Fabian Schar, his contract situation, would we have normally heard something by now on a player that was close to it expiring?
I don't know. Not sure if there is a sort of a set thing. Everything's different for every player. I know there's been discussions taking place between Paul Mitchell and Fabian's representatives. So fingers crossed we find a solution and we get to a situation where everyone's happy and Fabian can extend his stay with us.
And how much of a key player is he going to be going forward? Because he's got all that experience now and he just deals with any situation you throw him in.
Yeah, I think you can see in recent games, I think he's been very good in different jobs that we've given him to do. I think he is a player that you can use in different ways. Very, very flexible in a sense that his game suits the modern way. I think his technical abilities goes without saying, but he's very, very good off the ball again. He's quite comfortable jumping into midfield to help us with our press. He's quite comfortable, obviously, staying in his position as well. But it's that sort of tactical understanding. I think he's elite with his brain in terms of seeing the game. That's what you get with experienced players in that area of the pitch. It's him, Dan, and the other defenders we've had have done really well this year.
Just on Joe Linton, how's he getting on, and is there any doubt that he could miss the Carabao Cup final?
No, we hope by that time he will be back fit and available. He's making good progress. Joe, when he approaches his injury recovery, is very positive, very driven to get back and to shave time off the estimated target that he's given, which is a great thing, but also we need to control that and make sure that he comes back in a really good place. But he's very positive at the moment.
Thanks, Lee. I've got to carry then Luke.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi.
We've seen some great rivalries throughout the years, like player-wise and a personal level. Probably Messi and Ronaldo is probably like the last big one. In terms of like goal scoring numbers, battling for golden boot, etc., could Alexander and Haaland be the Premier League's next big one?
Yeah, it's a left field one. I don't know. I think all I'd encourage Alex to do is to do what he does. I don't think you can compare him to anyone really. I think Alex is very, very different to any other striker that I've seen or worked with. He does things that aren't sort of your traditional centre forward. What they can do, he's very different. He's almost a winger combined into a striker's mentality, I think, because his feet and his footwork and his dribbling ability is so good. That's almost winger-like. And then you put him into the middle of the pitch, and he obviously with his pace and his technical ability coming to feet, he's sort of got the whole package linked into one. And his finishing this season has been exceptional as well. So I think he is himself. He's very unique, and I'd encourage him to be that way.
And just on Manchester City, does it feel like, given the sort of results and slump, so to speak, this season, does this feel like a chance for the likes of Newcastle to swoop in and overtake these? Are you confident that it is just a blip and Pep will turn it round for them?
Yeah, I'm not focused on Manchester City. Pep will do that, and I'll leave that to him. I think from our perspective, I think every season's an opportunity, every moment's an opportunity to make new ground, to keep momentum going from our perspective. I think we've had a really good run of results. We've done really well in the cup competitions. Now we need, if we can, a couple of results in the Premier League to get our Premier League form back to where we want it to be. But this is a tough period of games, so it's, as I said, in the Premier League, it's probably season defining in terms of where we're going to be in the next few weeks.
Thanks, Gary. Got got to Luke, Chris, and then Louise. Luke?
Mate, Razor asked you about Real Madrid playing Manchester City. Did you also watch their game against Leyton Orient? Just out of interest.
Yeah, I did, and I watch many games in the build-up to our next opposition playing, and I think it's important that you do get a feel for the team playing. I like to look at their recent games rather than going too far back, and I think the FA Cup tie was a brilliant example of the FA Cup doing its thing. Two teams who are giving everything to try and progress, and I think that's been one of the great things of the FA Cup this year, that everyone's been taking it seriously and wanting to progress, us included, and we're excited for the next round.
Slightly self-indulgent question from me there. Can I just, Pep last year after the FA Cup game, did he say to you that's not normally how your teams play football? Can you remember it that far back? And are you looking forward to going there and being able to give them what you want your Newcastle United team to be? Can you remember that comment? I'm sure he said it.
You're sure he said it?
I'm sure he said it.
No, I don't think he did say that. So, no, I always think these discussions should be left between me and the person that I have them with, although it's nice of you to give your interpretation of it. I think it's always good to go there. It's a stadium that has been tough for us, been tough. Yeah, it's a tough place for, I think, any opponent to go in recent seasons. Their record there's been very strong, very consistent. But we look at it, as I said earlier, we look at every new game as an opportunity to maybe set new ground, and to, I think most importantly from our perspective, is to play in the way that we want to, and make sure that Manchester City know how good Newcastle are at the end of it.
It's a little bit scattergun. Alexander Isak, has he added a new dimension to his game this season, just in terms of being that 6-yard box player?
Yes, I'd say he has. Something we've tried to focus on with him. But following on from the answer I gave earlier, he has many qualities, and what sort of the winger comment that I made there, he played wide left for us a lot when he first arrived. So I do think he has the ability to play in different positions, and I think when you have those qualities, sometimes then you can find yourself out of the key areas, goal-scoring areas, sometimes just through the work that you've done previously. So it's been great to see him score those goals this year, and I can think of many now where he's in the 6-yard box and he's scoring what look like simple goals, and the final finish is, but for him to end up in that position is the hallmark of a great striker, as Callum Wilson did last week against Birmingham. Those goals, as scruffy as they are, from my perspective and the player's perspective, are worth the weight in gold.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Chris?
Morning, Eddie. Just checking in on Harvey Barnes. How far away from being involved is he?
Yeah, not far. He's doing really well. We're really pleased with how he's looked. So yeah, he's another player that's close to being in contention.
And just, you mentioned a lot of teams have got the Etihad over the last few years and comfortably being beaten. And as you said, Newcastle struggled there over the years. Your record there, it isn't brilliant.
It's an understatement. Thanks, Chris.
You've spoken about wanting to play your way into sort of impose yourself upon them. In the past, do you think that you maybe haven't done that enough, or have you tried to do that, and do you actually have to change slightly when you do go there? How do you view, I suppose, what you've learned from going there in the past?
I think we've tried everything. I think certainly when we first went there, my first experiences were, some of the most difficult I've had in football. I remember one time, looked at the clock, I think it was 9 minutes gone. I could be wrong here, someone will probably tell me I am, and we were 3-0 down. This was at Bournemouth, and I was like, oh my, this is going to be a long day. So I think, we've tried everything. As I said, we've tried being not cautious, but focusing on the defensive side first, then we've gone, right, let's go the other. And at the end of the day, Manchester City have been that strong for that long that I think we ended up learning a lot from those games, even though there were difficult days and some defeats in there that stung badly. I do think you grow from those experiences, and so I think we've tried to look at it that way. And yes, once the dust settles down, go, right, how can we learn from this game? How can we change our approach in the future? How can we not just talking about playing Manchester City, how can we actually then be stronger in the Premier League for these experiences? We're playing against the best club team in the world for the last however many years. So it is, look at it that way, a brilliant learning opportunity. That's what we've tried to do, and we've tried to get closer to them every time we've played them. Sometimes we have got closer, and then it feels like you fall away again. But that's our dream, is to get closer and to eventually try and win.
Okay, just over 5 minutes left. We'll get through as many as we can. We'll go to Louise, Scott, and then Dom.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
In a wider context, do you think that in the era of tactical disruptors like your friend Andoni at Bournemouth and indeed yourself, do you think that positional play, the great Pep era, is coming to an end? And has it, for all his brilliance, become too much like painting by numbers in certain instances? Hence, someone like Jack Grealish being sort of having his creativity curbed.
Sorry.
That's okay. Interesting question. Again, it would probably need a long time to answer. I don't think positional play is dead, but I do think the game is always evolving and changing. So I think the question you've asked is a valid one, and it's an interesting one. Tactical disruptors, I've not heard that phrase used, so that's an interesting one. But I think, as I said, the game is evolving all the time. So from where you look at the game, Premier League probably 3-4 years ago, and you would see probably more positional play than maybe you do now. Although I say that, there's a few teams that clearly have their way and they don't really change. But I think they're always in a position in the Premier League where teams are changing their approach based on their success or failure of their results, and we would be no different to anybody else. We're looking to adapt to find a consistent winning formula. It doesn't really exist. You have to keep changing and keep evolving. That's certainly how I see the game anyway.
And all managers are kind of control freaks to varying degrees, even including you perhaps. But in training, how hard is it to get the balance between control and your tactical blueprints, which are obviously vital, and allowing players to improvise and think for themselves? I mean, how fine is that balance?
It is. I think it's a fine line, because I think if you've got creative players and expressive players, you don't want to take that feeling away from them that they can play the game that they see. On the other hand, if you have all the players doing what they want to do, you're going to lack cohesion, and you're going to lack that structure that I think, again, every good team needs. So it's a really fine line, and I try to get that right with the players that we have. A structure, but within that structure, a lot of freedom for them to showcase their individual skills. But I do think if you go too far one way, it's a negative. So, yeah, again, we're consistently trying to find the right way to work with our players.
Thank you.
Scott.
Hi, Eddie. You talk about this spell potentially being season-defining. I mean, Newcastle have had some good moments this season, but they have had sticky spell. And you know, there could have been a scenario where if Man City, Chelsea, Spurs, Man United had maybe been at the levels they would have wanted to be, you would have been out of the kind of top 5 equation now. You're not, you're very much in it. So has that opened a real kind of window of opportunity for you that maybe might not have been there in other scenarios?
Yeah, I think you've asked that question in an interesting way, because we feel that we've potentially left points on the table. You know, we're disappointed with ourselves in some ways, and kicking ourselves in some games looking back. I'm sure every team does it. Every team in the world will do it at the end of the season. You go, if only we had, and you'll count the points up and think you could have added another 10 to 15 points on. The reality is football doesn't work that way, and you get what ultimately you deserve. So we are where we are currently, and we're looking for more, and we're looking for a continued consistent run of results. We know we need to go to the type of games that we're going into Saturday competitively and trying to win them, and then the following games to try and do the same, to try and elevate our position to where we ideally want to be. But every team will be telling you the same.
Okay, Dominic.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Positive news about Dan Burn, his injury. He's a player the likes of Bruno, Anthony Gordon have named as arguably Newcastle's player of the season. What do you make of that assessment?
Always a tough one. But I would agree with their assessment in the sense that Dan, I think, has had an outstanding season. I think whenever you're in my shoes and you're looking for reliability, you're looking for consistency, you're looking for people that are always there when you need them in the difficult moments, not just the good times. And I think Dan's had all those qualities. His training performances every day mirror how he's played on a match day, which again is another key thing for me. I'm looking for that attitude in training to drive standards, to drive the culture. He's certainly one of those players, and that's why if he were to be missing for a period of time, that would be a hammer blow for us. So fingers crossed that won't be the case.
Thanks, Dom. Sorry, Dom. Can we go Craig, Kieran and then Martin to finish? Thank you.
The fourth official's got his board up, so I'll just ask one question, a quick one. It's a direct one. Would you rather have Erling Haaland or Alexander Isak?
I sound like you, Craig, to ask such a direct question. No, I think, and I'm sure Pep would give the same answer. I love working with Alex, and I said many times I wouldn't swap him for anybody. I think he's got, we've got a good relationship. He's got a good relationship with his teammates. We've tried to help him mould our style of play to suit his game. So, no, I really respect Erling, obviously, and what he's done in his career is unbelievable. But we really love Alex as well.
Thanks, Craig.
Morning. There's been some needle from other clubs since the takeover, but with Manchester City, it's felt a bit different that they've been in your position before. Guardiola's always spoke really highly of the club. It seems the two boardrooms get on. Have you felt that difference from them compared to some of the other big hitters?
Maybe off the pitch, certainly on the pitch, no, because I know Pep wants to win. We want to win, so we're very competitive and we go against them like we would any other team. I'm not part of the boardroom relationship, so I don't get to see that or experience that. Certainly a club we respect a lot and really admire how they've gone from, I was playing against them in League One not so long ago. So really admire what they've done with the football club and how they've managed to do what they've done in recent seasons. As I said, it's been incredible to watch.
And with the current PSR rules staying in place, I'm sure you've seen, what will it take to one day close that gap, I guess?
From a PSR perspective, usual stuff from me, stadium, income, sponsorship, all the stuff that we need to increase our revenue. It doesn't change. All these things we need to grow.
Martin to finish, please.
Morning, Eddie. How much more is there to come from Alex?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come. I think, again, another traditional standard answer from me for every player, as well as some individuals may be playing. I would say there's still so much more each player can give and has to give to the team in loads of different ways. It might be, for Alex, it might be a different area to another player, but every player can give more and do more and has to have a really open mind to improving. I think that's absolutely vital for their own individual development. There's so many different areas and aspects of the game that you can take your game now with the analysis that we have available at our fingertips. And certainly our job, my job, coaching team's job is to try and push Alex now to do even better.
And last one, how important is he to the long-term success of the club?
Yeah, linked to a number of other players, really. I think we have to try and keep our best players. I think that's crucial to, of course, our short-term success and our long-term success. So sitting here as the manager of the football club, I'd be saying that we need to keep the group together and we need to add the other way. We haven't added in a long time. Various transfer windows, of course, for the reasons we've all discussed. But we need to move the team forward and we can't lose our best players doing it.